hygiene. Personal hygiene is not just a habit, it is a way of life. By maintaining personal hygiene, you will reduce stress, improve on your focus, show respect for yourself and others around you, to the people around you. Take care of your space and your life. Keep your room tidy, wash your hands, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, brush your teeth, and many others. Take care of your space and your life. Brush your teeth, make your bed, bathe, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, and many others. Make cleanliness a habit.
You got us on your wallet! Bobby! Again! What's this?
Elderly and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year. Your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
Don't miss on U24.
Entrepreneurs Hub, giving you a deep and unique insights into agribusiness, services, ICT and innovation, industrialization and so much more. Entrepreneurs Hub, growing your small, medium and large business entity. With yours truly, Sandra Kahunde.
Hi, my name is Doreen Tuhidire, coming to you from Be Money Wiser, and we're going to be bringing to you the hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser by Mrs. T. Tilda Nabandra. We're going to be running this hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser on U24 television. Don't miss out.
U24.
Hello everyone, my name is Erica Marunchi and welcome back to Be Inspired by Erica. I hope you're fine. I hope your family members are fine too. So today we're gonna talk about being kind to everyone. Please, Life is channel. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. They all come in the names of Erica Marunchi. God bless you. Much love.
You got us on your wallet!
Youth, elderly, and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year. Your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
Youth of Purpose. Youth of Purpose.
Get your favorite health tips right here on U24. Maintain your kidney by drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water each day. This can be in form of soup, tea, water, cooked grains, and boiled vegetables.
My name is Erica Murunchi and welcome to Be Inspired by Erica. So today I want to talk about personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is not just a habit, it is a way of life. By maintaining personal hygiene, you will reduce stress, improve on your focus, show respect for yourself and others around you, to the people around you. Take care of your space and your life. Keep your room tidy, wash your hands, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, brush your teeth, and many others. Take care of your space and your life. Brush your teeth, make your bed, bathe, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, and many others. Make cleanliness a habit. Personal hygiene should be a priority.
You brothers and your wallet.
Youth, elderly, and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year. Your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
Don't miss on U24.
Entrepreneurs Hub, giving you a deep and unique insight into agribusiness, services, ICT and innovation, industrialization and so much more. Entrepreneurs Hub, growing your small, medium and large business entity. With yours truly, Sandra Kahunde.
Hi, my name is Doreen Tuhidire, coming to you from Be Money Wiser, and we're going to be bringing to you the hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser by Mrs. T. Tilda Nabandra. We're going to be running this hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser on U24 television. Don't miss out.
U24.
You brothers and your wallet.
Youth, elderly, and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year. Your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
Youth of Purpose. Youth of Purpose.
A very good evening. You're welcome to U24, and this is Youth of Purpose. My name is Chesley Nankunda, and I'll be our host tonight. The conversation today is basically around the role that young people can play in making sure that we have a violence-free election. This is the year 2025 and 2026, where elections are paramount and the voice of every young person is key. We all know that we've had so many of the young people involved in violence, but also being victims of violence. So we do hope that by the time we are done with this conversation, we shall be able to understand what role do we play in focusing that we have a free and fair election that is violence-free. Joining me is a very interesting panel, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves, starting from my far left in a very smart suit. Please, you can introduce yourself to us.
Thank you so much, moderator. My name is Menya Julius. I'm a youth leader, but I'm also a former Youth Eastern MP contestant. I contested in the youth election in 2021. I work with young people in a civil society, so I'm a leader there. But I'm also a board member, advisory member of a wide program. It's a European Union funded project where I sit on their panel and I advise them. So together with this panel, I'm excited to join a panel of young people to share ideas and also bring the experience of young people on how we can better our country. I'm too passionate about working with young people, and I'm too passionate about seeing young people taking leadership in spaces in Uganda.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Julius, and for honoring our invitation. And next to Julius, very well dressed in a nice dress, please introduce yourself to us.
My name is Nachitende Patience, and I'm a lawyer who is also a medical personnel. And I love the law, I love my country, I love elections. I'm a very young and passionate youth. And even I love talking to children, I love talking to mothers. And I'm also a health educator for the girls and the women. And I'm here today, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I believe what we are going to share today is going to help us go through our elections smoothly and for the better of our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justin, for joining us. And next to Justin is our very own. Please, you can introduce yourself to us.
Thank you very much, host. My name is Mojisha Emanzi, a panelist at this show, and I'm very glad to be here to also contribute my humble opinions to this noble conversation of how do we have young people not engage in violence during, after, and before the elections for a smooth democratic dispensation in our country, but also to share some of the experiences, insights, and what the triggers are that have led to this rather growing vice in the part of Africa, and also in the region, and also continentally. So I'm sure with the panel that we have and the host that we have, it's going to be a very interesting show, and I look very forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mojisha, for that introduction. And now to start it off from Julius, you clearly told us you are a former youth MP aspirant from Eastern region. And to pick a leaf from 2021, what was it like, especially in terms of the status quo of participation of young people in the elections that you are in, but also in terms of what you did expect in that race and what you found?
Thank you, Tracy, and the viewers. 2021 was a year that saw many young people, of course, coming to election and taking up spaces. And part of the young people, it was me who took part in this election. But what came out too closely to me is, of course, the violence from both the politician, young people, and the state. From that previous election, I saw that actually we as citizens of this country, especially the majority young people, we must at least raise our voices. Let me just give this as a scenario on how electoral commission manages an election. So I think for me, we must voice out, and clearly our voice must be heard to call for electoral commission to take part and manage this election. Just of recent, you see how elections went in Iruengo. We actually lost youth. Many sustained injuries, but the electoral commission had some issues there, because young people, we are saying there is about staffing. They voted in the night actually, but Electoral Commission said everything is okay and well. So I think it's upon us citizens to help us, especially young people, to help the Electoral Commission, but also raise concerns on how Electoral Commission manages an election. I think the second thing is, yes, as young people came into spaces of election, as a country, we adopted the multi-party, dispensation in 1995, rather in 2005. But it's critical, as young people, also as a question comes in, is that, do we really understand how multi-party politics play in a country like Uganda, where of course you have side of military, you have Electoral Commission, where most of the officials are appointed by the president. Where can we draw a line? Where can we rationalize? So it all comes to us as young people. It all comes as the majority of people to understand how can we really play multi-party politics. We just need to respect, firstly, we need to respect political parties. That is the first. Because I have seen on many occasions, young people, of course, at certain times, we are blaming the state of violence. But in 2021, actually, it was sideways. You see, we are civilian in a political party. For example, I was the NUP by then. We are civilian, and we really want direct confrontation with the state, especially the military. So I think also as young people, it is too critical that we rationalize on our actions, especially as we are demanding accountability. As we are in this election demanding, do we have issues we are fronting? Especially, let us not stand on the podium or the panel and start spreading hatred. No, I think it's time to embrace politics of dialogue. It's time to embrace politics of reconciliation, especially now, this 2026, because 2021 give us a picture, give us a trigger of how we can go and harmonize in 2026. So I think, I expect that, and my hope is that this 2026 election should be an election where people reconcile, where people dialogue, especially young people. We need to set a precedent. We need to act and be examples that we can really run an election that is violence-free, election full of ideas, election of ideology, but also elections that speak to the realities of young people in our community. Thank you.
Interesting. So young people must be for the young people. You should not be at the front line of promoting violence, especially even against your very own. I thank you, Julius, for that. Getting to you, Patience, Justin.
Yes, please.
What is the state, especially for young girls and women participating in electoral processes in terms of violence? And it is on record that most of the violence that comes in really affects women more. But in your own understanding, from perspective of what you have participated in, what is it like, especially for a woman to go out there and participate in elections, and how safe is the environment for her?
Well, we're looking at a woman here, and in terms of a woman, we're looking at a youth mostly.
Yes.
That is someone that is 18 to 35 years old. That is someone who is a mother, who is a potential mother, or who is a mother already. And when you look at these people, they are vulnerable. At the same time, they can build for a positive change in elections. Well, so as we look at these people, at times we are misled by information. There is misinformation in public. You find that someone says, as there are people electing, you find someone saying, okay, can I say it in my mother tongue?
Yes, sure, you can.
Someone says, Nalabye, go and to a box yo bululu, wali mu nyumba, and you find a group of people running to go and hit that person up because they're saying that they have a box of votes that already ticked and something like that. That is misinformation. And then the other one is misuse of social media.
Yes.
It's being misused that you find a woman being posted somewhere and someone is saying, this woman, wherever she is, she's always taking votes for this person. She's always doing this. So how can we fight that? How can we fight that? And then how can we make the election ground safe? Well, we should also look at educating these people, informing them Because at times these people don't know how negatively it's going to affect them when they start misusing information, saying this one is taking votes for this person, this one has stolen votes for this person. They do not know the effect. So you end up finding women being shot, you find others being hit with stones. You may find even a woman getting a miscarriage, just like that. So let us look at elections being a safe space for transition of power, not being a war zone for women. Thank you.
Interesting. When we talk about young people, when we talk about ballot stuffing or running away with the boxes, I am very sure that it is most probably going to be a young person who has the energy to run with that ballot box. You will not see a very old person, or you will not see your father running away with it. So to get to you, Mujisha, in terms of young people being champions of the same that we intend to cut, how do we draw the line? Because if we are having young people as vehicles of violence, if we are having young people banging on those trucks, throwing stones at the community, if we are having those young people running after other people that have not done anything wrong to them, but also if we are having young people on media saying negativity without evidence, where do we draw the line as young people in terms of, having a fair or a violence-free election?
Well, thank you so much for that very complex question. And I'm thinking about how to navigate it. It's not easy, but this is my 2 cents. I love science. And in quantum physics, there is a theory that is called the theory of chaos. And it states that all matter meaning particles, atoms, and everything at a micro stature, always drifts towards chaos. And that is a fact of science. Coming back to your question, in any state, in any situation where there is an element of managing people to get power that will help people have access to resources, stroke, deny people access to resources, that's a very sensitive position where very many people are willing to even pay the ultimate price. Why am I saying this? One of the reasons that I think we've had an exacerbated rate of violence in Africa, I'm using Africa for now, yes, but we shall trickle it down to Uganda and our local communities. It is because this thing of elections, this concept of elections as part of a democratic dispensation system is a new phenomena to us, the African people. When I say it's new, I mean it is not even 100 years old. Because the democracy that we have, apparently, as African people, it came recently after the post-independence wars and chaos in the late 50s to the early 60s, right? Yeah. So in my humble opinion, I think we are still learning on the job. And when you're learning on the job, that is where you make the most mistakes. How old is the United States of America democracy? It is more than 200 years old, right? Mm. Uganda, our democracy is less than 70 years, okay? So we still have a lot to learn. But being the fact that we have something to learn, we have something to benchmark on, but we still go against the laws of the land, the international frameworks that were put in place to actually safeguard the interests of our democracy, where tenets like no violence, promotion of women participation and youth, all those tenets are in some of the international frameworks that we have signed as a country, but it's yet to be put into effect. For example, I can give an example of the African Charter on Democracy and Governance, ACDEG, where Uganda is a signatory. This is a framework that was crafted at the African Union level, and its core deliverable was to make sure that the countries that have signed up for it, the African countries, will learn not to make the same mistakes that have been making in the past. And what are some of these mistakes? First, the politics of identity and religions, especially identity. It's annulled that concept because previously, I can give you an example which I shared here last week. In the 1960s, in Uganda, the most sounding political parties of the time, the Democratic Party and the Uganda People's Congress, DP, was inclined to Roman Catholicism. The Uganda People's Congress was inclined to the Anglican side. So, by default, that was an error. So, when we had the violence pre the 1966 crisis, that violence was mainly fueled by the politics of identity. And my question should be, now, what do we do as young people faced with a plethora of complex scenarios, like she has mentioned, things like misinformation, right? Things like monetization of elections, right? Things like post and pre-election violence. I think the answers still lie within us, the young people, because firstly, one, we are the majority. When you look at the recent statistics of the number of people that voted, the number of people that voted that was between the ages of 22 to 35, that threshold beat the other age ranges. So what does that mean? It means that young people, you're very central to this process. But also, it goes back to the duty bearers. My brother Menya mentioned something about the Electoral Commission and the mandate that it has. So in the mandate of the Electoral Commission, does it have the element of not only encouraging people to go and vote, but also educating the citizenry about their civic duties, of which topmost should be non-violence during the electoral process? So if that was missed, to me, that is an oversight that has to be, one, highlighted now before the elections start. Two, I think we can start a conversation of having electoral reforms prior to the elections, because with what we saw in the 2021 elections, right, if we've not had any deliberate interventions made from the policy perspective, especially through electoral reforms, I think we're going to have a lot of firefighting to do, but there is still hope. I'll come in later. I thank you.
Thank you for that. Getting back to you, Julius, over time we have had, the other day I was interacting with a friend who said that the mere fact that it is called free and fair, it is not free and excellent. That's so. That's so. If it is not free and excellent, that we should be able to accommodate what comes along. Now that triggered too many things in my mind. But to get you, Julius, in a context of what is fair, who is it fair to, or how do we package the idea of, this is what fairness is in terms of youth participation, but also it is evident that you cannot say absolutely 100% it is going to be this and that, because progressively we've had to have a journey through transition day in, day out. So what is fair, to what amount, and where do young people come in to front that fairness?
Thank you, Tracy. I think for me, before, that is a critical question really, what is fair? Before I answer that question, I wanted to build, to just add on Nachitende's point, especially on women, because I work with women and I'm working on a project that is empowering young leaders, especially female aspiring leaders. And I think Nachitende brought out a point of the barriers that hinder women in taking part in these elections. One of the key critical components that comes around, there are two things. One of the key things is mental health and issues to do with, hurling insults when women are campaigning. Our community construct a social norm that whenever a woman is going to campaign, they ask, are you married? Do you have a husband? And it puzzles me a lot. I ask myself questions. How does that really link to service delivery? So I think also as a society, those are some of the key things we need to deconstruct. And it comes to also to national submission that we need information, civic education, going to community and teaching young people. And this is the role of Electoral Commission. I know Electoral Commission works under minimal capacity, but of course, CSOs can complement that, civil society organizations can complement that. Also building on Mugisha's point about politics of identity, it also poses me a question as young people that I come from Eastern, but in most cases, issues affecting young people in Central, in West, in the North, we are experiencing some issues, unemployment, things to do with poverty, poor quality education. But you see, whenever we are taking lead as leaders, we front me as a Msoga, me as a Muganda, me as and I'm quite puzzled and asking myself questions. When shall a time come when politicians start speaking ideas whenever they are given platforms, political platforms? When will that time come? And for me, I pray that 2026 is the right time for us as politicians to reflect a lot on what is wrong now and try to reshape what has gone wrong. Coming to your question about fair election, I think for me, how I understand free and fair election is it's a process. It is not 2026. It is started long way back. If any politician is claiming that they are rigging election, that person rigging election must have planned it earlier, before even today or 2026. It starts with the civic space. Is the civic space open to all of us? Is the civic space open to all people to campaign? We need, that neutral ground. We need all people, both in the opposition, those in the government, to have a space where they can all access their constituents and sell their manifesto. But it pains a lot that at the times of election, the civic space continues to shrink every day. And I think for me, as someone who works in the civil society, but also who has been non-election, I think for me, election rigging starts at a time when we are not accepting politicians to go and address people, to go and access their electorates and sell their manifesto. How will they vote people when they don't know who, what do they stand for? What are their ideology? So I think for me, free and fair election is a really long process that and its entire actually relies on government opening spaces for other actors, but also themselves. You've been just of recent, you've been seeing how NRM has been going through their primaries, and you've seen the contestation. The Electoral Commission of NRM side, we need a joint campaign in this, say Remiaga or any other county. But you've seen, bloodshed, injuries and everything.
Yes.
The same party, people fighting. So I think for me, free and fair election starts when there is transparency in the parties, when there is accountability in the parties. Before even you go at a national level, Uganda, are we able to hold our leaders accountable in our parties that we are in? Because young people have lost trust in these parties. We have lost really trust in parties. How can leaders in 2026 build the trust back to young people? So I think it's us young people to gain power back, and it's upon us to beat all the odds and say enough is enough. What we want accountability from our leaders, but also we want to hold government accountable in giving space to all actors to see that all of us access our electorates and sell our manifesto. Last year, as I conclude, I have been in Iceland, and I happen to see how the elections are arranged. Actually, in Iceland, it's the local people that funds this politician. They give them money, they launch fundraising campaign, and they give them money, like, seriously. Then I was thinking, how could this system go back to us? Coming back to Musha's point of monetization of the election. There is a report, I think of, there is a report 2021 by Account Monitoring Finance. They released the report that for you to go through a parliament, you need almost 500 million, Ugandan million shillings. But imagine a young people, youth like us, someone a fresh graduate from the university, how can really someone is looking just for capital of 3M, and you are telling him that to run for a constituency member of parliament, you need 500 million shillings. So I think for me, it also comes back to the systems that are constructed around us, but also our mandate as young people in understanding the geopolitics of our country. We need, right, it's now time that young people must hold our leaders accountable, both in our party and also in the government. Thank you so much.
Wow, interesting. Thank you for sharing those insights. And I think also the feedback that you give from the other countries that you have been to brings a lot of ideas on how best we do it. Because I always ask myself, if I come to contest and all that people want from me is money, how are they going to hold me accountable? It has become like business. But you give a very good example that Uganda can actually borrow a leaf from. Getting back to you, Esther, Patience, in terms of violence, especially against women. Now we're looking at what best can we do? Because in an election, a woman, when you put on red, any other person, when you put on red, people will say, why this color? You're a noob. When you put on blue, someone will say, you're FDC. When you put on purple, wa anta to say. When you put on yellow, NRM. You find that in your wardrobe, while you're even running, you literally have no any color to put on because of what society would think. But also that you are a woman running in this election or a young girl, and violence will start even within your own family. Don't participate. You're going to be big-headed. You know, it is only men that are supposed to be in those spaces. But while you're also running in a constituency, someone is saying, you have to go back home and cook food. You have to go and pick children from school. And I think all that even eventually leads to the domestic violence that we have in families. So what are those recommendations that you give? Or what do you think is best suited for us as women to be able to channel through having an election free of violence?
Thank you so much. As I was coming here today, I had the red scarf. And I was told, let me speak in my mother tongue, I was told, your scarf, so I had to pick a floor or something to come with. What am I driving to? As women, we are girls, we are mothers, we are daughters, we are aunties. So at times we need to be protected, but it should also start from us as women. I think we should have peer advocacy. What do I mean by this? We should, as women, tell a fellow woman that if you find a fellow woman misinforming people, telling people that no, as a woman, tell that fellow woman that, you know what, everyone has a right to vote. Let them freely vote who they want. When you find someone coercing people, giving them money, that vote for this person, if you don't vote for this person, this and this will happen to you. If you don't vote for this person, you won't receive your land. No. Everyone should vote for the person they want. And as a woman, please support another woman who is standing for elections. Also support another woman not to face violence by avoiding issues of stealing ballot boxes, issues of beating up yourselves because you saw your friend voting a particular party, you want to beat them up. No. When you vote, keep quiet, go home, cook food. Vote, keep quiet, go to work and work. Then the other one can be community engagement. What do I mean by community engagement? When we are in our communities, we have different groups. We have saving groups, we have church groups, we have youth groups. These groups can be able to help us fight this violence in elections. How? In every meeting you have, find time, 5 minutes are enough, talk about it. Maybe you're having an online meeting on WhatsApp. Say, you know what, next year we are going to vote, but please, it should be free and fair. Don't beat anyone, don't do this. Such messages. And then digital activism. Those women like influencers should come up, those influential women, and they say, they act up some, some very nice, interesting things that can either go to TikTok, they can go to TV, they can go to YouTube, that they can be moved through the country so that as women, we can be able to vote in a free way without beating up ourselves, saying that, you know what, don't vote for that one, she's not married. You people, everyone can stand to be a leader. Then the other one is we should look at rejecting those people who are giving us money, or political thuggers. Such people, they usually want to use us as women. They know very well, the lady that sells tomatoes down there, she can shout very well. She can even beat up someone. Last time she was beating a thief, they go to that lady. They give her money. They tell her, you know what, go and beat this lady upstairs there. I mean, who stays in that upper gate. She's ever here singing the song of NRM, yet for us, we don't want that party. And that woman is paid. After being paid, she maybe takes some alcohol or liquor or something. She goes straight, she goes to the gate, she knocks, ko. Vayo, what? So the woman comes out, she's beaten up. Isn't that violence?
But also how where in an event that they're giving this woman 50K, is all she's seeing as her hope.
Well, 50K, that's why I talked about peer advocacy.
Yes.
Tell your friends, go to that woman you've seen they're giving her money and they tell her, go and beat Mama Nach. Go to that lady and tell her, you know what, don't beat Mama Nach. That is very little money. It can take you. You tell her about the consequences of that violence. You know, at times people don't know. They think when they beat up people, they will go outside there and be free. They will come for you. The police will come for you, arrest you. You go and sit there, inciting violence, doing what? You sit there in Chigo or anywhere. You're imprisoned. So I think women should also be told that there is a repercussion for everything. They are accountable for everything that they do. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Justin, for that. Getting back to you, Mojisha, talking to a young person online, especially in terms of electoral violence or digital violence, but also talking to a person deep down in Bushenyi, where I come from, who has no phone, has nothing, does not know about reporting mechanisms. How best do you, or what do you advise them, especially in terms of engaging in an election that is free of violence, and what measures could they put in place?
Well, thank you very much. I don't think there is anything new.
Yes.
We are going to tell, especially young people, not to partake in violence. But the whole point is to have a message that is relatable to the youth. One. Secondly, who are the people or institution that is creating this message? Because young people listen and act when they hear something from an institution stroke people they trust and can rely on. Right?
Yes.
Very many institutions have been part of the non-violence in elections, right? But it's not been worth it. Why? Because, in my opinion, the messaging, much as it's right, the strategy is a bit off, especially when you're dealing with young people. The traditional messaging that would be, they would put banners, they have t-shirts, they invite youth, a politician or a leader speaks to them, they give them t-shirts, do not participate in violence, do what? To them, they've checked their box that did we conduct an exercise? Yes. But the million-dollar question is, when the young people left that conference workshop or whatever it was, did they carry the message and did they relate to the message? So I think that is where two things come into my mind here. One, can we be civilized as a nation? Why should you switch off the internet because there is an election going on? Yet now we know in this day and age, the internet is the bloodline of technically our society. We conduct businesses there, we conduct transactions, we do work, we communicate, we do everything on the internet. So for you, Menya, as the president of the Republic of XYZ, because you're competing with her, and you think she's a threat to you. When you switch off the internet, what about me, an entrepreneur who does my work online? What does that mean to me? What does that symbolize? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if we are to look at youth in a non-violent setup, it has to be much more comprehensive than the traditional approaches that we've been using. Recently, we had a very powerful man of God doing miracles in Rubaga, right? Benny Hinn. He attracted a big number of believers. We had the president there, the president's family and the daughter, even opposition folk were there, right? What does that show you? This ninja has influence. It is at that juncture that our government and other players have to get creative, right? To capitalize on such opportunities, to spread the message of non-violence. I am sure if I shall tell young people in my village, please do not participate in electoral violence because it's detrimental to our society. I'm not so sure they will listen to me. But if Benny Hinn stands on that pulpit and he does like this and says, no violence used, please do not, because God is watching you, I am sure people will listen. He's not so special, but because he has that power, that influence, right?
Yes, true.
So I think these are some of the non-orthodox approaches that we have to partake to ensure that young people. Also, there has to be a specific and deliberate strategy from security agencies, starting from the Uganda People's Defense Forces, Uganda Police Force, and all these auxiliary forces. Why? Because we all know that when we get into the electioneering process, these guys go into overdrive. We've seen security officers heralding candidates. We've seen security officers running away with ballot papers and ballot boxes. Those funny, uncivilized things. We've seen these things with our eyes. Yeah. And as young people, we sit and wait for either the commander-in-chief, the army commander, or the powers that be in the military to apprehend these people, bring them, charge them, so that we know there is justice going on. Because if we do not see that, we as the young people, we of course we shall believe that, well, this is part of the strategy. They were sent to do this, so it is normal to them for violence. So action and reaction are equal but opposite. If I'm going into an election knowing that UPDF, they are coming to break my knuckles, I'm also going to come into that election without a shirt.
Yes.
With my panga here. Why? Because I know I'm going into a battle. That is not democratic at all. That is not what we want. So the security services have to be at the forefront of promoting peace by not arresting, abducting, and heralding the population, but rather helping the population accessing services. If she is standing for an electoral position and she's going for a campaign, the security services are supposed to protect her and her group against any external threat, not the security services themselves becoming the problem against the candidate of other people. So these are some of the things that we have to reflect about on a very serious note, and also have our judicial system come into place. Let's have these people apprehended, and then we can know that we are having what? A functional system. I thank you.
Wow. I wish all young people were actually doing this conversation. But feel free to follow U24 on YouTube, because these conversations are always recorded and you can access the information anytime. So we are going to have our concluding remarks, and I'm going to start with you, Julius. What is that one take home that would give the young people in terms of bridging the gap between electoral processes and violence?
Thank you, Tracy. I think for me, one key thing that always, whenever I'm having conversations about election, free and fair, it comes to, as we are advocating, say, monetization of election, like monetization of politics and what. Sometimes we, the Landy Fellows, go and speak English in our community. Still, after speaking this English, they will say, yes, or you get it. I need to something. So even at a time, we are losing actually people who are too substantive. We are losing lawyers like you now. You are a lawyer, and you are the people that need to go in that parliament and really negotiate for policies and make sure that service delivery is at par. So I think for me, as I conclude, it's a time for the country to reflect, because all signs all people, like political commentators, are anticipating election violence than it has. Uganda has never experienced it before. So I think it's all of us to come together and work together as a team. But also, my call to Electoral Commission is, I don't know how, but Electoral Commission must build trust back to young people. Let young people sit there and believe that Electoral Commission is going to deliver a free and fair election. Thank you so much.
Electoral Commission building back trust to the young people. Justin, please, your concluding remarks.
Yes, thank you so much. Mine is to, first of all, to the political leaders of these parties that are coming up to represent. Please don't weaponize these youth. Don't use them as instruments of violence for your selfish gains. You may want certain ideologies spread, and you use them and you tell them to do certain things, and they are going to be imprisoned. And they will be taken to court, they will be given they will be convicted of their actions, and for you will be nowhere to save them. They have families, they have a future to build. Then to the youth, use your power and energy to change, to bring change. Don't use your power and energy to cause violence to your societies. Then to the government, it should invest in empowerment conferences for the youth so that it can teach more about the beauty of a free and fair election. Because once it is invested in, I believe that a youth like me, a youth in my village where I come from, there in Chitende, will be able to know that once I am voting, it is free and fair. I'm not beating up anyone for voting a certain person. With all that, thank you.
Interesting. And lastly, Mugisha, your concluding remarks.
Well, my concluding remarks would not derail so far from what my co-panelists have said, but maybe in a nutshell. One, as a country, we need to take serious the international frameworks that we commit ourselves to. For example, the Sustainable Development Goals, the African Union Agenda 2063, which clearly stipulates non-violence before and after elections, where we are signatories. The African Charter on Democracy and Governance, where we are also signatories. It clearly stipulates exactly what to go through to avoid such conundrum of violence in elections. We have to take all those serious. Coming back locally here, our political parties have to have a deliberate strategy, either mandatory or otherwise, in their structure. And this provision should be there that in whatever your political party ideology is, there has to be the element of non-violence in the electoral process, regardless of what party it is, either in power or in opposition. Second, we have to take advantage of some of the institutions that have been created in line with neutralizing the risks of violence. For example, the inter-party dialogue, IPOD. When the chairmen of the political parties meet and discuss these, peace and freedom should be number one on the agenda for every political party that is going to contest in the national elections. Apparently, there is IPOD engagements going on, but there are some other political parties that are not part of it due to other legal and whatever gymnastics, which I think that is an oversight, because to me, that's already a trigger of something that is going to come. If IPOD declares that we're going to give this threshold of finances to every political party, let it be uniform. Don't exclude party A because of reason A, B, C, because that will be a recipe for disaster. Then coming back to the young people. We young people, we are the ones who are often mostly beaten during the elections, and we are also the ones who beat. By beating, there could be young people in security services, young people who are on the egari of most politicians, like they have been now advocating that you people, you get egari. We have to introspect some of these ideologies and concepts that are thrown around by politicians, because then we don't want to embrace something we do not understand that is going to throw us in magma. For example, we have to clearly stipulate what our political party ideologies are, and they have to be in line right from the executive level to the youth youth leagues in these political camps. Then in our communities, we have to embrace peace as young people, because without peace, our society does not transform. We have to remember that when the National Resistance Movement was coming into power, they are on their 10-point program. Program number 1 was democracy. And in fact, enjoy democracy. And since it is the first tenet of our government in power, it's their first tenet. Let us embrace the democracy in the true sense of the word as the NRM government envisioned it when they were still in the bush. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, Jisha, for that interesting conclusion. You've been watching Youth of Purpose. We have had Julius Menya, a former MP youth aspirant from Eastern Uganda, and also a leader in the civic space. We've also been having Patience, who is a lawyer but also a medical personnel, passionate about women's rights and advocacy. And we've also been having our usual own, Mujisha, who is a Pan-Africanist, but also one who always adds a lot of information into our conversation. Today we are discussing the role of young people in championing violence, in championing elections where there is no violence. And the take home is that the young people out there, you are the majority. Do not be one that is spearheading violence. Whether you are a young person in civil society, whether a young person in the media, whether you are a young person in political parties, whether you are a young person in the religious sector, you all have a role to play through advocacy, through sensitization, but also through taking that first step to make sure that you are not the one that actually champions that violence. I've been Treslin Ankunda hosting the conversation, and thank you so much for watching. We hope to catch you next time. Thank you.
Bye.